San Diego County is inching closer towards returning to the purple tier as coronavirus cases continue to rise.
Now, if this happens, more businesses may be forced outdoors again or limit capacity. News 8's Brandon Lewis explains.
Now, Steve and Alicia, we've been in the red tier for quite some time. What we're seeing, though, is our case rate getting above the 7 threshold. If that happens for 14 consecutive days, then we end up going to purple with more restrictions on the way.
We are right on the precipice of tipping back into that higher tier.
San Diego County is once again facing the potential of going back into the purple tier. This time, officials are sending an early warning to keep up hand washing and mask use to keep businesses open.
So those folks who are mocking the efforts, that might make you feel good, but it certainly isn't going to feel good for our small businesses when they're impacted by your actions.
San Diego is experiencing yet another spike in cases, but really for the past 2 months, we've seen numbers right on the edge of Tier 1. It's only because of credits for doing more testing that we've stayed in the red. What's different this time is those credits may not be enough to save us.
Today, we are here to sound the alarm.
On Friday, the county didn't mince words. This week, our hospitals had some of the fewest patients with COVID-19 since the pandemic began, but that could double as it did during the last spike over the summer, which is why there's a focus on case rate today.
Those are the early indicators of how widespread COVID-19 is throughout our communities. Hospitalizations, deaths, and outbreaks are further downstream indicators.
There is still time to make an impact. Our next case rate is calculated Tuesday. If it's above 7, after adjustments, then it starts a 7-day clock. If it's still adjusted above a 7 a week later, then we could move into purple. Anything less, we stay in the red. What's at risk is expanded retail capacity and indoor activities like dining, fitness, worship, theaters, and personal care services, which is why it's important to take precautions.
Those actions are going to be the actions that if our businesses have to close are responsible for this. Those actions are the actions that will contribute to spread.
Those restrictions that come from the purple tier could have an impact on businesses. Coming up for you new at 6:30, we'll tell you more about the push to get a federal program passed to help out those businesses affected. Steve and Alicia.
Today, San Diego County officials are reporting 373 new coronavirus cases out of more than 12,000 tests for a positive rate of about 3%. One new community outbreak was reported at a business for a total of 32 in the last week. No deaths were reported today. That total remains at 853. San Diego County is still in the red tier with the case rate of 6.8.
An employee turns the tables on a suspected armed robber pulling his own gun out and shooting the would-be thief. Happened around 10:40 this morning in Shelltown in a liquor store and taco shop in the 1700 block of Vesta Street. Now, police say that when the man allegedly tried to rob the store's employee, the worker grabbed a gun and shot the man in the chest. He was rushed into surgery after arriving at the hospital. No word tonight on his condition or identity.
We are nearly 2 weeks away from Election Day, and things are really heating up. There are many competitive races in San Diego County and beyond, so if you're planning on letting your voice be heard, you better make sure you're registered. News 8's Tim Blodgett spoke with Registrar of Voters Michael Vu about how to make your voting experience go smoothly.
Tomorrow is that deadline for voter registration in the state of California, and if you do happen to miss it, it is still possible to cast a ballot in this coming election, but you might want to save yourself a lot of time and effort if you do it before tomorrow.
In California, and indeed the entire nation, people are getting out to vote in record numbers. According to the U.S. Election Project, over 27 million people have already casted their ballots. That's over 6 times the amount of votes cast at this point in 2016.
Over 1.93 million individuals have received a mail ballot thus far. And as of right now, we have over 432,000 mail ballots that have been returned back to our office. That is an overwhelming number when you think about this time in comparison to 2016's election.
Michael Vu is the Registrar of Voters in San Diego County. He says that while more people are voting in this year's election than ever, his office appreciates people voting early rather than potentially crowding polling places on Election Day.
And I think our message, as well as the pandemic, to keep everyone safer, is really resonating with voters that are out there, and them returning their ballots back to our office.
So if you'd like to vote in the comfort of your own home and simply put your ballot in your mailbox or at a nearby drop-off location, you must register before midnight tomorrow.
If you want to participate in this election, tomorrow is the registration deadline. Don't wait until after the deadline to participate, because again, what that does is just create more time for you, more time for individuals that need to participate, potentially long lines on Election Day, as well as the days leading up to it, long lines here.
If you do miss tomorrow's deadline to register, you'll still be able to vote, but you'll need to physically go to an early voting location to fill out a conditional voter registration form. This means your vote will still be counted, but only after it's verified by the registrar's office.
And it has to come back to our office for verification. And generally, us processing those provisional ballots occurs after Election Day. It will absolutely still count after we have verified it, but it would then get reported after election night.
And if you still haven't registered to vote in California, it's a very simple process. Just head to sdvote.com and fill out a few forms, or go to our CBS8 page and click on the Help button. Steve and Alicia?
All right, Tim, thanks. A quick stop in Southern California today for President Trump, who took a detour from the campaign trail to visit Orange County, where he was looking for an infusion of cash for the final 2 weeks of the campaign. 28-year-old tech mogul and Republican donor Palmer Luckey hosted the president for a fundraiser at his island home in Newport Beach. Tickets ranged from $2,800 per person all the way up to $150,000 per couple. Now, Mike Love and the Beach Boys were scheduled to perform. However, original band members Brian Wilson and Al Jardine told Variety today that they, quote, have absolutely nothing to do with that event. The president is now holding a rally in Carson City, Nevada.
Now to weather. As the cool down continues today, it is only just the beginning.
Some good news here. Meteorologist Sean Stiles joins us now with a first look at your microclimate forecast, and I think we're all ready for a little relief. Sean?
Yeah, Steve and Alicia, it is definitely on the way. Although yesterday we told you temperatures would still remain above average, and that is the case here today. 80 was our high, 73 the average over a 30-year period. The good news is by midweek, we're going to be at or even below average as we work into a cooling trend across the west. Now, looking at the temperatures this evening, we're much cooler across much of the county, with the exception of downtown San Diego, that urban heat island, and the same for Chula Vista. Pretty much the same also out in Borrego Springs and Ocotillo Wells. Air quality, yesterday we had them kind of spike a little bit. They are still in the moderate range for most locations, with the exception of Oceanside. However, they are trending down. They are moving closer to that 50 mark, which is below that good air quality. So as long as we're trending in the right direction. Here's a look at the 3-day forecast. And as I said, we will continue to cool off and get to our average by Wednesday. After that, we get even cooler as a trough sets up over the Pacific Northwest. Looking at those inland microclimate temperatures out of the 90s and into the 80s, in fact, approaching upper 70s by the time we get to Wednesday. I'll have your 8-day microclimate forecast in just a bit.
All right, Sean, we'll see you again in a few minutes. Well, the mother of a San Diego State student who went missing in Zion National Park has been found. Holly Courtier went missing back on October 6th while on a solo hike. The 38-year-old is an experienced hiker, but when she didn't return for her shuttle, her daughter, Kaylee Chambers, got concerned. Search crews went looking for Courtier, and today, 12 days after she disappeared, they found her. Now, rescuers aren't releasing any details about the rescue, but a GoFundMe page says that money is now needed for medical care.
A reminder for anyone that uses the coaster or Surfliner, all trains between San Diego and Oceanside are postponed through tomorrow morning. The tracks have been shut down in Del Mar for stabilization work being done on the bluffs. Officials say riders should plan for increased travel time once trains begin running again on Monday.
A car caravan anti-racism protest today in Imperial Beach.
The Imperial Beach People's Alliance and Caravan for Justice San Diego joined forces for the mobile demonstration. Participants gathered at Mar Vista High School to decorate their vehicles before winding through the city. It ended at the pier, which participants made chalk drawings with messages in support of social justice.